Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Joys of Living Great. At this time of the day, every Thursday, we have the Joys of Living Great. And the Joys of Living Great is brought to us with genuine hearts. We are here to actually help women to learn, to inspire, to motivate. I want to let you know that the Joys of Living Great, our mission is to be sure that you are in the right place, in the right time, at the right time, and knowing that you are having a joyful day. I'm actually hearing some background noises and it's really distracting me. And I apologize because this is generally not my opening. Please forgive me. Thank you. What I'd like to say is that as women, we have different cultures, we have different languages, we come from different parts of the world, we have different ideals, we have different thoughts about how things should be, and we have different lives. But there's one thing that we have in common, and that is that we are women. The Joys of Living Great is produced on the Win-Win Women Network for your pleasure and for your health. We want each segment to be something that's going to be inspirational or motivational, or that can bring some joy to someone. This month of August is the month when everybody starts to think about going back to school. And that's from pre-K to postgraduate. Learners are thinking about going back to school. Today, we're going to talk about the parents' responsibility for sending children back to school, or even getting yourselves back to school. Now, this may not be a session that you can get something from. The last segment may not have been one that hit your bone. The ones that's coming up, I can assure you there will be one that's going to really touch your heart and inspire you. So I am going to start by saying that my memory of preparing my oldest son for school was buying uniforms. You see, at that time, just to go and buy the uniforms that were necessary was not the easiest thing in the world. We had to wait until payday, and payday may not have matched when the uniforms in his size were available. So when we went, if they were not available and it wasn't the right payday, we had to wait until the payday matches the availability. And there were times when we had to buy one set, wash them every day because little boys get really dirty, and go back the next payday and buy another set. I think I remember that well because for this particular school, it was a private school, there was only one supplier in the town. So it wasn't a choice like you could go. Now I think you could probably go to Walmart and get uniform clothing because they are in all colors and everything. But this particular school had a particular brand, and it was only at this one store, which was in Orange, Connecticut, which is a suburb of New Haven. So it was in the area where things cost more. But as a parent, it was my responsibility and my husband's responsibility to make sure that we had the money when the right time came to get those uniforms and make sure that he had what he needed to go to school. Otherwise, he could not attend. Now, getting uniforms wasn't the only thing, and I'm sure everybody else has stories about what they needed to do and how they went through the things that they did. But I wanted to start by sharing that with you because that's something I remember so vividly, how every year, and that store owner began to know me very well. So after about 3 years, he started to put my son's sizes aside so that when I did get the payday, I could get them. Now that's joy. That's really joy. Does anybody else have anything? Just tell us what you'd like to share with us about preparing as a parent for your children to go to school.
Well, I can remember, Faye, that my daughter was going to school. This is elementary school. The teachers would always prepare them with a list of things that they needed for school. And so all of those things that she needed were on that list. So it wouldn't really be anything that, any extra, only the things that were important, that were essential, that the teacher would put on that list. So it would be, the glue, specific glue sticks or liquid glue, paint, tape, tissues, because at the time, tissues were very important. Even hand sanitizer at that time too. Hand sanitizer, tissues, any type of Crayola crayons or even pencils. All of those were included. And I remember that it used to be like a little controversy between the spiral books and the composition books, the black and white composition books. So we didn't know whether it would be the spiral, but some of the teachers didn't want the spirals. They wanted the composition books. I thought the spirals were better, but sometimes the pages do fall out. So the composition, those black and white composition books were good, but then they started to have them in colors. So we started to get them in colors, if the teacher wanted them. They said it didn't matter about the colors, as long as they were composition books and not spiral. So we would always look at the colors, they had pink, hot pink, and they had yellows, and they were always bright and, colorful and cherry. And not like when I was going to school, but so they really had the black and white ones, but they had all sorts of colors, and they had book covers and everything like that. It stretched book covers, all those things. And I was just fascinated myself looking at the things. I was getting pretty happy about buying them because they were colorful, and I love colors. So that's what gave us joy, gave my daughter joy, and gave me joy to even just buy them for her. You know what I mean? Because just choosing, like, what do we choose? Okay, we know we don't want spiral, but we want the composition books. So the colors. So then it went into what color would you like? And that was a joy to me. I really enjoyed it myself. And the glue and the oh my goodness, what else did they need? They needed the tape. There was a controversy about the tape. Sometimes it was double-sided tape. Sometimes it was the regular tape, the clear tape. And that was really interesting. So all of those things that the teacher prepared, the list before. Sometimes the teachers would prepare the list in June. So the parents would be very prepared, like even in July, or even whenever you wanted to go to get them, you wouldn't have a rush, because, if you went to Staples to get things, there'll be a line outside the door because you were doing it the last minute. So we would have the list. So it would be no excuse for my daughter, no excuse for me as a parent to go and buy those things that she needed. So that was a joy for me that they gave those lists in June so that you would prepare. And then they gave it again in September, just in case you lost it. So I thought that was really great. And it made it very, very easy for me as a parent. And that was my joy.
That's great. That's great.
For me, it was a big deal for me because I had boys, so I can identify what you're saying with your son. And with boys, with my boys, they wanted the clothes to match. So I had to always go ahead of time and find the shoes first, get the specific colors so the clothes could match the shoes. So that was always a big deal for me. And the shoes for boys, they were expensive. And then I had two boys of my own, and then I raised my nephew, my deceased sister's son. So he had really big feet. So I had to really look for these shoes. That was like a real big deal. So it gave me joy. Once I got the shoes out of the way, everything else flowed pretty smoothly. But I remember the shoes. That stands out for me. Yes. That's all I want to do.
For me, my son, I will always try to make time for him during the school season because he always wanted my time. I have to have time to communicate with him, to check on his emotional well-being, his self-esteem. He would want me to be home when he came home, or, because I worked and everything. So I had to make sure I made time for him. I had to find out what the schedule was. Did they have a parent-teacher conference? Make sure I went. Did they have a special event, if he's singing or if he's in a band? Or if there was something going on at school, I had to make myself available because it meant something to him. And he let me know early on that he expected me to be around or be available. He appreciated that. So, and that makes him feel good about himself. So I always had to check on that, the well-being of my child, to see, is he all right? Okay, what's happening today? Are you all right? And keep the lines of communication open, because that's how you find out things from the kids, what's going on. And you can help them with, give them encouragement, tell them what to do, help them to problem solve, talk things out with them. But they do expect that. And if you don't make time for them, you might not find out what they need, and that was a big thing. I did tune into that. That was the little counselor in me that I
had. So I'm going to piggyback off all of that, because everything you ladies said was the same for me. I have boys as well. First boy, I worked, so I wasn't home. My husband was home because of his work hours, but I wasn't home. But it's still, I had that one day a week during the school year when we could, when the weather permitted, one day a week, every Wednesday for an hour, basketball during the school year, just to keep like a safe space where we can do something besides talk about school. Or did you do your homework? Did you do your chores? Did you, taking the joy out of the education process for them was something I tried to avoid in a way. Like Katrina said, spending time. My time was, I had spot checks every night before bed. Let's listen, open forum, 15 minutes, let's do it. And then the once a week. And the same now for my youngest, same thing. We have a weekly show, oh my goodness, that we watch every Wednesday. And then, spot check, hey, you good? You need me, come talk to me, and leave it open, because they're not talkative, but when one day they'll remember, your mom did say I could come talk. That opened door, and, everything's good, and that, but Brenda, I tell you, when you talked about that list, joy for the parent is right there. And that list, I'm like, yeah, no wondering, no pulling my hair out, trying to find, but it was the only thing that might have tried to tilt that joy a little bit, was trying to go find everything, because everything's gone, so that 1 year, because it only happened 1 year for me, that we got that list early, like June, like you said, beautiful situation for me. So, but it's just the culmination of it all is just when the joy is full, when you see that your kids are at rest. There's no stress, no, and it's like, wow, okay, I did the right thing. I did something right. I was able to help them out. And now they can go into school. You don't have to worry about too many things. We have to be that support system, our joy transferring into their joy is just being a streamless support system where we can, supporting, talking to them, like Katrina said, getting those supplies, like Brenda and Elena says, listen, not just supplies, those clothes, everything, making sure that they're safe and fit. Because I have boys, my second born, them feet, man, Growing.
I
So
think for all of us who had boys, shoes was a problem.
big one.
It definitely shoes, that was the most expensive piece
Yeah.
of everything. But it was something that you had to have, right?
Yeah.
And at the private school, you had to have a certain kind of shoe.
Certain kind of
So-
shoes.
So that was even more expensive. Let me ask the question, because we were talking and I noticed that we have some other people who have joined us now, but how did you transition the kids from summertime to back to school time? Was that a difficult task? I mean, now it's lights out at 9 and you got to have the TV off. And so what about that transition? Was that a problem for anyone?
Not for me. Well, because it was kind of explained, when school was out, all right, and when school was getting ready to come in, like the second week of August, okay, we have to tighten it up, preparation is so key to keep everything nice and light, and I let him know, okay, we're gonna have to start, and let him know you gotta scale back. 11 o'clock turns to 10, turns to 9, turns to a reminder that your bus is at 6:15 in the morning, that kind of thing. And it kind of kept things going. Still a routine, might not get up early during the summer, but even whenever you get up, there's still a routine, and that kind of keeps them in some kind of rhythm, some kind of balance. So that made it a little easier.
So you sort of set up a transition into going back to school. That's good. So does anyone else have any thoughts about how you prepared your children as a parent? How did you prepare your children for school? Regina, did you have any thoughts for us?
Well, with our sons,
Oh, you have boys too?
I have 2 boys, and with our sons, they basically kept the same routine because both mom and dad work shifts. So when we work shift, that means basically we have a routine that is with us 365 days of the year. The only time we sort of deviated from that was when we would go, of course, on vacations. And even within the vacation time, we had a routine, and we kept it our regular routine, because most often we didn't take our vacations during the summer break. We took them when going to the Mouse Land and visiting Orlando. Mom doesn't do well in the heat, so we went during the time of the years where it wasn't as hot in October, November, and also in between their birthdays, which was April and May. So we would always go during those times for vacations. But in that we were still in school during that time, they still had a routine. They had to get up and we were going to go out and enjoy the festivities of the day, but they still had to do homework and regular work that they would have done while they were in school, because we arranged that with the school anytime they would have those absences. So routine, believe it or not, children look for structure. They need structure, and they look for structure from their parents. So once you get a structure, once you get a routine going on, it's not difficult. And with our children, to make that transition easier, we involved them in every aspect of back to school so that there was an anticipation being built. We got excited about being promoted to the next level. We got excited about ordering uniforms. Well, you can't stay in that size because guess what? You're growing. You're growing from a young boy to a young man. And with those type of things and getting them involved in every aspect of it, even choosing or what type of pencil do you want? You have to have a number 2 pencil, but would you prefer to use a mechanical pencil as opposed to the traditional pencil? And things of that nature. What color book bag do you want? How are you going to make this book bag your own book bag to make it more original to you? So once you give your child, give them the opportunity to be involved in every aspect of going back to school, it builds up a great anticipation for them. And then the transition is much easier.
That's great. That's so great. So listen, did any of you, and I know Brenda has already said this, she got so excited, but see, she had a girl. So they got all excited about the colors of the, of the books and stuff. That's a girly thing, right? It sounds like everybody else had boys. So Brenda, I'm not excluding you from this question, but what was the excitement for you as a parent when it was time to go back to school?
Well, the excitement for me was to meet the new meet the teachers, because that's very important that we have a rapport, as teacher parent rapport. And to me, it was just seeing who those teachers were, meeting them, talking to them, talking about my daughter, and making sure that they understood certain things, behavior. I had no problems with behavior stuff, but yeah, meeting the teachers and going over the curriculum, because sometimes they have the back to school night, and it's like meet the teacher night. And so you're meeting the teacher for the first time, and you were understanding what the curriculum is, what books they're using. So that was kind of exciting to me because it was showing that the teachers really cared and they, what they were going to teach, what the expectation was. So that was kind of pretty exciting for me to go back and meet the teacher, that night in the evening. It was pretty exciting.
Good. Anybody else got any real excitement about your children going back to school?
I got excited from their excitement because they had all this new stuff that was matching. They're going to a new school, and you just saw joy. They were so excited about getting dressed and putting on this fresh new stuff and go back to school all over again. So I didn't ever have any problem with forcing them. Some kids you got to drag them, but they were always excited, and all of them were athletes. So they were pretty popular. So they were excited about going to school. And they were good students also. So I just had joy from watching them. I got excited from their excitement.
That's great. I lived with my grandmother. So, and I was the only child in the house. So obviously the excitement that I had going to school, I brought into my home for my sons because I knew what a joy it was to just get out of the house. I don't have to be in the house anymore. I'm going to school. I'm going back to school. So I was excited for them, because now it's an opportunity for you to get back out with your friends, and you're going to see people that you have not seen over the summer. Summer is good, but now you're going to get a chance to see some friends that you haven't seen for a couple months. So it is exciting. There are such things that are going on in life today that we all know about and we all hear about. There are dangers all around. How would you prepare your child today if you had those small children who are going back to school and they're going to start next Monday? What, if you would, tell us one thing that you would say to them in preparation for them going back to school?
Well, one word: listen. That's going to save their lives. If there's ever a situation, with an intruder in the school, or, we're not calling those things forth to be. but listening is it's a lifesaver, to be honest. It really is. Knowing the rules and following the rules and listening to the teacher. And if the teacher tells you walk quietly in the closet, sit down, don't go by the door, those things, listening skills are like paramount. And I would actually, you know, and I actually had that talk with my youngest now about how important it is to listen and to make sure you grasp what's being told to you, you know, because it really is it defines the outcome of your day. Let's just say that. And it prepares them well, it prepares them for life. So it's not like we're teaching them something that they can use just this year and then that's it. No, this is a life skill we're teaching, but listen is my main. And
Okay, anyone else? Oh, there's an echo in my audio. I'm so sorry. Maybe I'm talking too loud.
For me,
Go ahead, Katrina.
yeah, for me, it was communication again. For when my son went to school, I knew where he's at. And I should tell him, well, you have to come home from school first before you go anywhere else. You have to call, like check in, because I'm working. So I'll be home maybe in an hour or two, but that line of communication has to stay open. You don't want to have your child across town and you think he's on the bus, you know,
Right,
and
right.
stop off at other places that I'm unaware about. If we talk
Exactly.
about it prior to, especially in these days and time, we talk about something prior to, okay, mom, don't forget, I'm going over Billy's house. When I get off, we're going to do our homework over there because his mom is home today. That's fine. I have to know that. And then I still expect a call that you got there.
Communication. So listen, communication. Elena?
I would say self-esteem. I would tell my child to be good with who you are, because they get picked on because your ears may be bigger than somebody else's, or you may not look like the next person, but embrace who you are, who you were created to be.
Okay, we got self-esteem. Brenda?
Follow instructions. I piggyback off of Crystal. Following instructions, very key, very paramount, because listening is, sometimes they listen, but are they hearing? So that's my thing. Are you really listening or are you just hearing? So you should be listening and hearing at the same time, listening and following those instructions, because we don't know, what could happen, so following instructions and communication, as far as Katrina says as well. Communication.
Okay, Regina?
I would say the word in our house would be observance. My husband always tells all of us, each of us, keep your head on a swivel. Look around.
Know what's going on around you. You're absolutely right.
Everything is unfamiliar to it, report it to your teachers.
Mm-hmm. That's right. You're absolutely right. So ladies, these are some of the things, women of the world, that you can tell and share with your children as they go off to school so that they can keep that joy. Self-esteem, let them remember who they are. Listen carefully, but not only listen, but obey. And communicate. Communicate with your parents, children, parents to children. Communicate and keep your head looking around you. Know what's going on around you at all times. Regina, can you quickly tell us what we have coming up?
Yes, I can. To all of our Joys of Living audience, once again, we're happy to have you with us. And we have so much planned for the future. And oh gosh, I'm sorry, I have to get my glasses. You guys are gonna see me with my glasses on. This month, we're gonna focus on the joy of going back to school. And, this is our first segment today, and it's all about preparation. But we also want you to know we're going to expand these thoughts. And on the 11th of this month, we're going to the joy of education. And we're going to speak to anyone that is going back to school, whether you are entering in a preschool, kindergarten, or whether you're an adult. that's going back to school. You don't want to miss this particular broadcast. And then on the 18th, we're going to come to you speaking from the grandparents' role in back to school. We know that in this day and age, we have a lot of grandparents that are raising up school children that are school ages. And we want to speak to the grandparents and we want to share our joy with you. And those of you who are grandparents, share your joy with us as well. And then the last episode for this month is the train up a child. You know, the Bible tells us to train up a child in the way that he should grow. And when he or she becomes older, they will not depart from it. So it's going to be great joy in how we train or how we share life lessons with our children that's going to be with them for years and years to come. So it's an exciting month. And we also have an ebook that's in the works regarding that subject matter. And we're not just going to leave you out there. We're going to give you all the tools, or as many tools as possible, so that you can share the joy of education during this month of August.
Thank you so much. Don't forget, audience, to join our Facebook group. It's called The Joys of Living Great. And go to YouTube, put in the search box, The Joys of Living Great. Our episodes will be posted there in the Joys of Living Great YouTube channel. And what we ask is that you watch, subscribe, and give us a like, because that's what we need. Thank you so, so much for paying attention to everything that we have been talking about. If everyone